All right, so we are finishing up Siman 318. Sorry we're starting so late, having computer troubles here. All right, so those of you that happen to open their email after 7:26 will have a document called Hilchos Shabbos, Siman 318, Strring and Covering, which is what I wanted to use as the basis for the shir tonight. But actually, even better than that, let us read the language of the Mechaber himself. And then we'll go into some of the basis for the discussion. The Alter Rebbe, you mean? Tell you in a moment. I have to shut down my computer, so all my windows are gone. Seif Lamed Alter Rebbe is correct. And in the Shulchan Aruch of the Mechaber, it should be Sif Yud Ches. Hilchos Vagdei Shavim Mertachim Al Gabei Ha'or. A pot or a pan that was removed, still hot from the fire. If it was not fully cooked, in Mutzin Bakaf Mehem, Yud Ches in the Mechaber Shulchan Aruch. Yep. Ein Mutzin Bakaf Mehem, you cannot remove with a spoon from them. This will be considered megas. Bishul, and this will have bishul in it. This bashal called sarkoi mutter. If it was fully cooked, it is allowed. When it comes to wool that's in a pot, even if it already absorbed the color, it's forbidden to stir. Rama says one should be strict even with the pot in all manners. Okay, so point is that we already started learning this last week, but it'll be somewhat of a review and hopefully somewhat something new. So here's the thing. If a person stirs a pot on Shabbos that is not yet fully cooked, it is an isser of bishul mida oiraisa. This is one of the tzarkei habishul, and it's actually a clear tosefta. The Magen Avraham quotes the tosefta. Here it goes. Echad nasan ha'ur, echad nasan ha'etzim, echad hakdeira, echad hamayim, echad habasar, echad hegis, kulam chayav mishum avashal. It's actually in the Rambam also. One person brought the fire. Somebody else added wood. Somebody else put a pot on the fire. Somebody else added water. Somebody else added meat. And somebody else stirred it. They're all chayav because of bishul. And the Rambam explains, anybody who does something that is necessary for cooking, that is considered bishul. So in order to be able to cook properly, you need to stir the stuff on the fire, because otherwise the bottom stuff is going to burn, the top stuff is going to be raw, and so on and so forth. As such, by the way, a person who would stir the pot would make the pot aser to eat, like any person who's over an iser bishul midaraisa. Now, there are a few points to be made that could minimize it somewhat according to some opinions. First of all, we have to bear in mind that some say that the definition of mavushal kol tzarkai is actually the same as mavushal kamaychal men drusoi. There are some Rishonim who say that once it's cooked kamaychal men drusoi, ein bishal achad bishal. So according to that opinion, once it's half cooked or a third cooked, according to the opinions, stirring it would not be an Issur D'Oraisa. Maybe Issur D'Rabbanan, we'll see soon, but not an Issur D'Oraisa. So that's first of all. Another thing worth mentioning is a very interesting opinion that's brought in the Maggid Mishnah, and it's also in the Rashba, maybe the Ramban too, I don't remember. They say, yeah, the Ramban and the Rashba. They say that the only Isser of Bishul of Hagosa, of stirring Midaraisa, which means just the first stir. When you stir something for the first time, that is the main thing. Because what's the whole point? The point is that the stuff on the bottom should go to the top, and the stuff on the top should go to the bottom. So you did that already with the first stir. After that, just to make sure the stuff on the sides and maybe not all the stuff from the top went to the bottom and vice versa. That's all extras. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is the first stir. So that's another interesting opinion because according to that opinion, after that would not be an Issur D'Oraisa. So that's worth knowing about.
So based on what you said, that came in. You said again, it's going to be still one field. When the second time of the count, or
well, according to those who shine him. According to those who shine him, it's not the point of taking the spoon out or not. It's the point of once you stirred it the first time, the second time is not accomplishing anything. It's like ein bishul achar bishul. So it's like ein hagasa achar hagasa. Out or not, it's just about once you accomplish it, you accomplished it. But anyway, the main halacha is not like those Rishonim. The main halacha is that it's any stirring. Okay, now, because we know that food that's off the fire can cook just like food that's on the fire, as long as it's in a kli rishon, and is yatzalat as boy. And of course, we know that it can even cook other things. How much more so it can cook itself, continues to cook itself. So therefore, if you do something, even when it's off the fire, to enable it to continue cooking better, that is still an Issur D'Oraisa. So just like stirring it on the fire is an Issur D'Oraisa, stirring it off the fire is also an Issur D'Oraisa, if it's not yet fully cooked. Okay? No, that's a machlokes. Well, we paskin that fully cooked means fully cooked. Yes, well done. How do you serve the cholent? The cholent is fully cooked before you serve it. Some people make it fully cooked before Shabbos, but certainly by the time you come to it on Shabbos morning, it's fully cooked. On the other hand, if you want to raid some cholent on Friday night, you better make sure it's fully cooked. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Okay, so what's worth discussing here is the question of Hoitzah b'kaf, removing something with a spoon. The Rambam says that if you remove something with a spoon, it is like stirring. Let me see if I can get the language of the Rambam here.
But if you pick it, it's something like...
That some people allow. The problem with it is, I think this is actually the language of the Rambam. Is that possible? The Machaber? No, it's not. Shabbos Gimel Yud Aleph. Give me 1 second. I'll get the exact language of the Rambam. Yeah, if you spear it with a fork, some say that it's not considered stirring because it's not making other things fall down and go up and so on. But some say, no, it's a gzeira that includes everything. Let me just bring up the Rambam, sorry. Okay, here it is. Rambam is per Gimel halacha Yudalef. Also, la'achnes magreifa l'kdeir b'Shabbos v'hi alaish. It's forbidden to insert a ladle into a pot on Shabbos when it's on the fire. Lohitzim min b'Shabbos, to remove from on Shabbos v'neishem megizba, because that stirs it. V'zem yitzorkei abishalu, and this is one of the things necessary for cooking. V'nimtza kimavashal b'Shabbos, and it turns out that he's cooking on Shabbos. Kimavashal b'Shabbos, it's like he's cooking on Shabbos. Okay, so basically when you remove food from a pot that's not fully cooked, interesting, the Rambam doesn't say if it's fully cooked or not. You notice that. It doesn't say specifically. But the Beis Yosef says he must be talking about a case where it is not fully cooked. Because if it's fully cooked, there's no bishul. Impossible. So removing something with a spoon is like stirring it. Now it's not exactly clear if he means it's mamish bishul mid'oraisa or not. The language of the Beis Yosef, it sounds like he's learning pshat that it is actually an iser d'oraisa. Sorry? In general, the shear of bishul is a kegroigros, is to cook something the size of a groigros, of a dried date. A dried date, that's the shear of bishul. Over here, we're talking about a pot. Presumably, there's more than the size of a dried date in the pot, and you're doing one of the tzorkei habishul, so you're chai. You understand?
It's cooked, but not well done.
What if there's a little piece, you're saying? It's a little piece that's less than a groigros, it's not going to be, put it this way, it's not going to be a chiyuv mid'oraisa. It might be an iser d'oraisa. There's a concept of chatzi shir also in the Torah, that doing a half a shir is still an iser d'oraisa, but it's not a chiyuv in the Torah. Not going to have skila or chatas or anything. But it could be still an iser d'oraisa. But anyway, the point is that some say that it's not mamash and iser d'oraisa. Let me see if I wrote down who says that. Give me a second. Actually, the Mishnah Berurah brings that it's only an iser d'Rabbanan. I guess maybe it's not a sure thing that it's going to happen. It's not his intention. But the simple reading of the Beis Yosef is that it's an actual iser d'oraisa. Now, since, as we've said, it's aser. Sorry, the Kli B'Shin will cook the food that's in it even off the fire. So therefore, we understand that you're also not allowed to remove from a pot that is off the fire, if it's not fully cooked, with a spoon. What do you do with it? So I saw some of the Achronim, I think the Shmir Shabbos, says that you pour it out into another keli, like to a Kli Sheni, and then a Kli Sheni hopefully doesn't cook, and that's it. And from the Kli Sheni you can, serve it and so on. But I was actually looking at the halacha brura, Yeshakach. I'm sorry? In the Kli Sheni? Doesn't say. Sorry?
No, that's less to serve.
It's less to serve. Less to serve, yeah.
But why is there reason to take something?
Maybe, I'm sorry. Maybe that's the score. That even though we're machmir in a Kli Sheni, But over here, because it's not actually stirring, just serving, maybe that's what it is.
Would it be
But I'm not
related
100%
to
sure.
the Sushi? And that's fine. That's practical sometimes.
I don't know. I don't want to make it up.
In general, these things, people who are machmir klisheni are the same as machmir klisheni.
No, there are. I mean, the Moshe says there's no such thing as bishul shlishi. Doesn't exist unless you actually see that it cooks.
Mhm.
Other than that, you don't have to be choishish for it. But the Uraim is, and some people are choishish for the Uraim. So
tea that we had to do through a klisheni, right? Tea had to be through a klisheni.
some say, yeah.
Or the main halacha is everyone usually does the klisheni.
No, some say not even through the shlishi. Some say it has a din of kali habishul.
And you'd never be able to do it.
No, you make the tea before Shabbos.
Right. So the people who do make tea, they only make it in the klisheni, or even the ones who are not there would make it in klisheni.
No,
No.
in the kli shlishi.
Right. So klisheni. So you see, what was I going to say? Right. I forgot what I was going to put the point I was going to say, but I guess there is a humongous difference between klisheni. Oh, you said unless you see that it cooks.
Yeah.
And tea that you see that it cooks even like klisheni.
So the argument is made that you don't really see that a tea cooks because a tea can share its flavors with cold water too.
Right, but if you see the temperature, right, it excretes the coloring.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean that it's cooking.
Right, but if you see the temperature of klishlishi, if I pour it, I don't want to get into this. I don't mean to get into. We could stop and talk about this later. But if I pour into a cup from a urn and I pour into another cup, now it's klishlishi. If I put a thermometer in there, it's probably not going to be so much different than the klisheni.
Right.
And it would still, but you said unless you see that it doesn't cook. Corner of Moshe.
Right. So what's your question?
So corner of Moshe, you would never be able to make tea on Shabbos.
No, on the contrary. Why do you say that?
Because he says that there's the klishlishi for sure never is mismashal unless you see that it's mismashal.
You don't see that's mabashal because the fact that the water changes color doesn't mean it's called bishul. Because
the temperature of the water proved to you that it is mismashal. If that temperature touched,
if temperature proves anything, then you may as well say there's no such thing as a kli shlishi, because the temperature is the same as a kli sheni.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's not what proves it.
Just the water that's excreting, it's not the temperature that's excreting.
Exactly. And
And
even if it is
it's
the
going to be there
temperature,
doesn't mean it's going to cook.
even if it is the temperature, Chazal say that besides the temperature, you need the walls that are hot for it to really cook. In other words, the temperature is not enough because the temperature is going down as a result of the walls that are cold. And therefore, even though it's hot, it doesn't have the power to cook. Heating is not the same as cooking. So therefore, it's not a proof. The fact that it's hot is not a proof. Mm-hmm.
I ask,
Question.
what is the reason to take something that is half-cooked from the fire? Can you give an example?
I mean, some people maybe like things that are still crunchy and not fully cooked. Obviously, if it has to be edible, if it's not edible, there would be no point. But maybe they like it a little bit crunchy, or maybe the guests are hungry and they can't wait anymore. Obviously, again, it's edible, it's just not fully cooked.
But when you get to this stage, this situation, it is already half-cooked, is not considered machal ben b'sayim?
Yeah, but machal ben b'sayim still has an iser bishul, according to the main halacha. Even though, like we said, there are rishonim that say that ein bishul machal bishul already applies to machal ben b'sayim, but the Rambam, and that's how the Mechaber Paskins, says that it has to be fully cooked before you can say ein bishul machal bishul. Oh? Right. Minion has arrived. Shkoyach. All right. What was I saying? So we have basically some say, so the halacha brura brings down that you should not even empty it from the kli rishon, because as you're emptying it, it's moving around, and therefore you should just leave it as is, nothing to do.
And so from there.
No, Stuck. If it's half cooked, so if it's less than fully cooked, you're stuck. Leave it till it cools off. Less than yes, let us boy. Your guests are gone, and that's it. Nothing to do. Stuck. Maybe you can drink it with a straw. It's the only thing I can think of.
What about to spear it? Okay.
1 second, I'm sorry.
That's it, only when using a spoon.
What do you mean?
You shake it back. Wow.
Same thing.
Some places like that.
Same thing. Same thing. Anything that mixes it. There's a difference. Can you spear it? So some achronim say you can, because as long as it doesn't cause the other food to fall, it's okay. But some say no, the Chachamim said not to take out, and you shouldn't take out no matter what.
Okay. But just to make sure, to understand better, you say that the example that you gave is if someone like it like crunchy, so it's not so good. So it's by mistake you look it up because it for him is good enough.
Doesn't make a difference. It's good enough, but he still can't serve it.
So
He's
it's
stuck.
It's not edible.
It's edible for him.
But he cannot use it.
Exactly.
So what is there from the beginning? What is there?
He made a mistake. Now he shouldn't.
So
if he comes to this class, he'll know that there's no point. Exactly. Okay. So before we continue, I'll just mention what the Mechaber said, even though it's not really so practical for us, but if you have a vat and you are dyeing wool in the vat, even after the wool absorbs the dye, it is still an isser to stir it. Because some say it has to do with the way the wool is, that you have to continually stir it to make it really, really be absorbed properly. And some say it's because you want to make sure it doesn't burn. The dye could still burn and ruin the wool, and the only way to stop that is to stir it, and that is considered a continuation of the act of dyeing. Just like when you squeeze the clothes to get out water that you use to wash the clothes with, that squeezing is considered part of washing. Even though you could say, well, the washing is really accomplished by the water. Squeezing is just to get the water out. That's like a side point. No, because that is the way to complete the washing process. That's part of the washing. So here, even though the dye already absorbed it, but until it's cooled down and not in a danger of burning, you haven't finished the dyeing process. So therefore, to continually stir it is going to be an isser of tzviya. That's a side point that the Mechaber mentions. Okay, now, the Mahari vial brings Mahari vial. The Mahari vial was Rabbi Yaakov ben something vial. He was a Talmid of the Maharil and a teacher of somebody else. I don't remember whom. He was one of the Gedolei Ashkenaz, one of the great poskim in Ashkenaz. They were from different towns in Germany in the middle of the 15th century. And he's quoted a lot in the Ramah, the Darkei Moshe, and so on. The Korban Nesanel, who's on the Rosh, appears on the Rosh Korban Nesanel. Rabbi Nesanel Vial is his descendant, I think a great-grandson or something. Anyway, Mahari Vial says as follows. Give me a moment so I can bring it up on my screen. So here's his words. When you put the pot down from the fire, to take the food out of it, you should not stir it with a spoon. Tahavi, because it is like kimavashim. It's like he's cooking. Shabbos, like we say in the first paragraph of Shabbos. When a pot is removed and closed, you're not allowed to stir it. And that is talking about a pot that is with spices, and you're using and you're dyeing wool. Nevertheless, he is applying that to this as well. And this is what I saw in the house of the Mahari, which is the Maharil. Okay, now clearly he's talking about off the fire, because he says Siman kedeir min ha'esh, when they remove the kedeir from the eish. I'm sorry? He is definitely, is he talking about Vushal Kol Sarkai? Apparently he is. Because if it's not Vushal Kol Sarkai, then what's the Chiddush? That's Bishal Mamish. Doesn't have to say, so I saw in the house of my teacher, the Maharil. It's Pashat. Also, the Pashtas, you take the food off the fire to take the food out of it. I mean, presumably that's a normal household that's fully cooked. Why else would you take it off? So apparently it's fully cooked. So this is a big chiddush. Here he's not talking about whether you're allowed to stir it on the fire or not. Here he has a different chiddush. Stirring it on the fire, we'll get to in a minute. Maybe we should discuss that first, but whatever. Here we are. You took it off the fire. Maybe we should go back and discuss that first, actually. Okay. Let's put the Marival on hold. We'll get back to Marival in a minute. Let's talk about a case when the pot is still on the fire, but it is fully cooked. Are you allowed to stir that pot on the fire? Stir it, actually stir it. Sorry? According to the Mechaber, yes. Where do you see that? Mechaber talks about when it's off the fire. When you removed it and it was still hot. So here's the issue. When it's still on the fire, there are two issues with cooking it. Different opinions as to why it's an issue. Although actually some say it's not an issue. The Radvaz is one person who is not concerned with even stirring it on the fire. But many other sources, even Rishonim, say it's asur. The first one that is the most strict is that of the Kolboy. Kolboy is a late Rishon. I don't think we know his name. Well, I'm saying we don't know his name. But he basically quotes previous opinions. That's what's called Kolboy, because he brings all the previous opinions. And the Kolboy says that if you stir food on the fire, even if it's fully cooked, an isser of bishul mid'oraisa. An isser of bishul mid'oraisa. He is, for some reason, considering it to be like, what's being mevushal? It's a good question. What should the isser of bishul mid'oraisa be? It's very difficult to understand this kolboy. Because we know when something is fully cooked, you're allowed to put it back on the fire, right? Even you're allowed to remove it from a small fire, put on a big fire, and so on and so forth. So what exactly is the Isser of Bishul here? Oh, that's what Moshe says. It's not clear in the Mari, in the Kolboy. But the Moshe says that there could be some, he calls them krotin, some small pieces that for some reason the fire is not getting to them. And the only way they're going to cook is by stirring them. Now, this is a little bit difficult to understand because we're not concerned with those pratim when it comes to putting back on the fire. You took something off the fire. It's mavushal kol tzarkoi. How do you mavushal kol tzarkoi? Because you asked your wife, how long does it take to cook this dish? She says an hour. Fine. Next. It's been an hour. Okay, you want to take some? You take some. You put it back. Maybe it's not fully cooked. No, it's fully cooked. That's how long it takes. Finished. We're not concerned that maybe there's little pieces. So why all of a sudden here are we concerned? It seems that it's not easy for me to understand, but it seems like Ramesh is saying that there are these little pieces that are so hard to cook. The only way to get to them is to stir it, like to break it up. As long as it's not broken up, even if it's put back on the fire, if it didn't cook, until now it's not going to cook. The only way that it's going to actually cook is by being stirred. Hard for me to explain,
You stir it off the fire, that's okay. And then put it back on.
That's a good question.
The results will be the same.
That's a good question. First of all, some are strict, even stirring off the fire. And that's the Marival that I'm going to say, although we started to say. And those two opinions could be connected, by the way. That stirring off the fire, even if the bushel called tzarkoi, could also be aser because of those same pieces, right? But on the other hand, we could say that since after all, it is not a known fact that there's any pieces in there. So when it's on the fire, so it's actually a normal place to cook, that's when we're going to make the isser. When it's off the fire, so it's already starting to cool down, I'm not talking about stirring it dafka off the fire and then putting it back. I don't know if that's okay. But I'm saying if you're stirring it off the fire, where it's not a normal place to cook, so, and again, we don't know for a fact that there's any pieces in there, we're not going to be machmer. Definitely, there are opinions that say that, even though the Marival is strict, but we'll get to those opinions soon. Just to mention other opinions as to what the issue is when you're stirring it on the fire. I'm sorry? Ooh.
If you mix it,
It's not called.
No, he's asking if it is. It says it is mavushal. You're talking about if it is mavushal? Called tzarkoi?
It's not mitzvah deraisa.
If it's not fully cooked, then it's a mitzvah deraisa. Then it's also. Yeah, why not? No reason why not. If it's mavushal kol tzarkoi, so there's a few reasons to be lenient. To be making. First of all, the Radvaz says that it's mutter to do. So, if it's mutter, obviously, according to one opinion, so we've learned in the past that some say if it's mutter, according to one opinion, to do, so it's not going to be asa b'diavad. Another thing to bear in mind is that some say that it's not an Isser D'Oraisa. I was about to say, for example, the Tifer Shmuel, another Pirush on the Rosh, says that it's not a Isser D'Oraisa, it's an Isser D'Rabbanan, that that the Chachamim said you shouldn't come to stir it when it's not Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi. They said you should also not stir it when it is Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi. Even though you could say the same thing about putting it back on the fire, right? Why don't we say don't put it back on the fire when it is Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi, because you might put it back when it's not Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi? It seems to me the reason for the difference is that when it comes to stirring, that is a very common thing to do when something is not Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi. You want it to cook, right? Putting it back on the fire, I mean, taking it off in the first place, taking it off when it's not Mavushal Kol Tzarkoi is not so common anyway. So it's not specifically, the idea of putting something on the back on the fire is not specifically associated with non-Moshe Chatzarka. Whereas stirring is very commonly done when something is not Moshe Chatzarka. So there's more reason to be strict about that. Thank you.
Wouldn't it look like even if it is cold and the Shakot or Kohen is on fire? Wouldn't it be Chazer like you're putting it?
Right?
You're going to read it when you search them.
Yes, that is correct. I did see that brought also. It's not a question. You're saying a pshat. You're asking. No, I'll answer that question in a minute. But another opinion is that it's simply mechzik mevashel. I definitely saw that. I don't remember who says it, but I definitely saw that. That some achronim say that it has to do with mechzik mevashel because that is a very strong aspect of bishul to stir something on the fire. So even if it's not, even if it is mevushal kotzorah, so it's not actual bishul, it's still mechzik mevashel. Correct. So it's an Isser Rabbanan. Okay, so we have.
So if your host goes to the food from the worker from the fire,
If you what?
the host, so you're allowed to eat it.
Let's one thing at a time. We didn't answer your first question. You're already on to the second one. No, it's not. First, you asked about actual stirring. One thing at a time. First, you asked about actual stirring, not about serving from the fire. Actual stirring. If it's Moshel Chatzarkai, I think there is a reason to be lenient. Let's go through the reasons. First of all, the Radvan says you're allowed. Second of all, even those.
That in and of itself make it okay?
Not necessarily, because the Alter Rebbe says that the idea.
Except for the Alter Rebbe.
And the Magen Avraham.
Okay.
They say.
For
those who accept the klal, that would be sufficient, yeah. But some say that you don't say that klal if it's an Issa D'Oraisa for a Jew to do that a Jew is doing. So that's not so clear.
But over here it's an Issa D'Rabbanan.
No, but I'm saying those that say that it's an Issa D'Oraisa, the Kolboy. Just saying, it's not so clear. Kolboy says an Issa D'Oraisa.
Right. Besides people who go like the Korban, I'm saying, let's say the Alter Rebbe.
Alter Rebbe says.
Well, in this would be that since it's only D'Rabbanan,
yeah, but that's the thing. Is it only the Rabbanon? That itself is the question. I don't know. I mean, in the context, when the Alter Rebbe is strict, he's talking about a case where we paskin that it's a deraisa, and those that are mater hold that it's mutter, but we paskin it's a deraisa. You understand? So it's not the same as we here, where we paskin it's asar, but it's not clear that we paskin it's a deraisa. That itself is a question. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe the Alter Rebbe would agree in this case. I'm not sure. But I'm saying, but anyway, many say that it's only Nisa D'Rabbanan, like we said. And certainly Nisa D'Rabbanan, that's B'shoigig is mutter, that we've said, right? And then there's another argument which can be made when we were learning about Maisa Shabbos. We said that there is an opinion that says that it's only Aser if you actually accomplish something with your malach. Whereas if you didn't accomplish anything, then it's not a, even though you did a Isser, but you didn't accomplish anything, it's not going to be Aser. I don't think that was the main halacha. I think the main halacha was that it's Aser in any case, that it's a knas. It's not just that we don't want you to benefit from it, but it's an actual knas. But nevertheless, it's another reason to be lenient, because over here, no, to anybody. Yeah, because I'm saying he didn't accomplish anything. It's already fully cooked. So what difference did he make? See what I'm saying? So there's many reasons to be mekel. In terms of serving, where you have all those reasons that we said before, plus the fact that serving could be not even Issa D'Oraisa if it's not fully cooked. I'm saying, but it's not the same. It's not actually mixing. It's mixing it kala achar yad, not so intentionally, you know what I'm saying? So it's even less than actual mixing. So for sure it's not going to be Aser or B'di'emet. To remove when it's on the fire? Yeah. I'll get to that. Yeah, I'm sorry?
Piece going to be also, as example, the majority of the pasta was cooked, but there's one piece of meat that wasn't fully cooked and you flip it over. So it's possible that it's just like a different Asura or half of the Asura.
That I will refer you to this class and see if they can answer your question. Let's say the food was fully cooked besides one piece of meat. And we stirred it. Can you eat the rest of it? Can you eat the rest of it? No. Bottle? Do you say bottle? No.
And the piece wasn't cooked at all?
That's another question. That's an interesting question. Let's say. Yeah, you're complicating things. Okay, let's say. Nagid. Makabel, no? Next. It was cooked Machem and Desai. Definitely it's Bishul. He wasn't allowed to do it. And that piece is for sure Aser. His question is the rest of it Aser? Ken, but his question is, can you eat the rest? That's his question. Can you eat the rest?
I would say yes, because, he put it in before Shabbos. So, and it's the daytime, so it should have been cooked.
One second. I'm sorry, what?
I said if that piece was put in before Shabbos. So I'm sure, so it was probably lunchtime now. And so.
No, he's asking in a case where it's not fully cooked.
Huh?
He's asking about a case where it's not fully cooked.
The rest is.
Sorry. The rest is, what do you say?
We have in the halacha that you'd be allowed to eat if you did shehiyah. You'd be allowed to eat it even if it's, let me correct my thoughts. In the case of shehiyah, we said, if you have a dish that's not mavushal k'machal ben dorsai, but it's over hayatzolah, and you put a raw piece of meat there, so the dish becomes permitted entirely because you would never eat the dish with that raw piece of meat, even though 90% of the dish is permitted, is available to be eaten, and the piece of meat's not. So we say the whole thing is allowed. So maybe also here. Here? No, it's not right. It's fine.
No, not McCollum. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. That is a question of, it's not a question of Allah. It's a question of derech b'nei adam. Over there, the whole issue is, are you going to stir the coals or not? So we say, when you put in something that is not going to be ready till the morning, so you personally are Masiach das from this pot. You're not going to, part of it is not ready to eat. It's just a strange thing. You obviously are not planning. One second. You obviously are not planning to eat it till the next day. If you are not planning to eat it till the next day, so then there's no possibility you're going to stir the coals. Now, when it comes to the halacha of stirring, you know what I mean? The halacha of stirring is a halacha that's not about how you feel and what you would eat and what you wouldn't eat. Yeah. You did an issur d'oraisa when you stirred. The question is that usher piece of meat bottle, b'shishim, b'roiv, or not at all?
I don't get it. He says here, usher in a Torah if what you just did is usher d'oraisa.
Yeah, but it was only an issur on that piece of meat. The rest of the tafshil was already fully cooked. Okay, so you did an issur d'oraisa. But now you can't eat those things. What about the rest? He's asking the Shemna, what about the rest? You did an issur d'oraisa, very bad. You have to do truma the month of Elul. Finished. No, never again. Question is, what about the other parts? You know for a fact that everything was cooked besides the potatoes. Say, for example, you know for a fact. So I won't eat the potatoes. No, I'll just take the good. I'll take the good. No?
I want to say also.
No, I'm not at all.
Going back to the cholent,
Going back to the cholent, yes.
where on Erev Shabbos you throw in a small piece of meat.
Yeah.
That makes the entire thing okay to cook,
Yeah.
even though it's not to leave on for shahiyah purposes. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Rafael just said.
Do we say the same thing over here? That one piece of meat that's not fully cooked will make the entire thing go along with it?
No. Rafael just said that, and I don't agree. No. Over there, it's simply that you are not going to eat this pot until it's fully cooked, presumably, and therefore you're not going to stir the coals because you're just not planning to eat it till the next day. But it's not about the actual isser of stirring. You understand? The actual isser of stirring is there, and therefore you have an actual forbidden piece of meat in this pot.
Well, the meat is giving taste and flavor to everything else while you're mixing it. And if you're now mixing it, and it just gave taste because you touched it and you sucked out its juices while touching it.
Okay. So Rafael says it's very simple. It's aser because it's not batel b'shishim. That's absolutely correct. If it's not batel b'shishim, there's no question that it's aser. What if it is batel b'shishim? I'm just trying to test your knowledge.
One little piece of meat.
One little piece of meat.
So it could be.
So maybe it should be okay because it's batel b'shishim. You have 60 times that meat in the cholent.
But you can still identify it.
You identify it, you know what, or maybe you can't. I don't know, maybe you can't. Either way.
Being the Kadashim still in the Suda.
Yeah, you did the Isser. Even a size of a gregus is an Isser, is a Chiyav D'Oraisa. But the question is the rest of the meat, that's the question. The rest of the cholent.
You can't, but everyone else can.
It's too easy. So if you remember way back at the beginning of the Siman, we learned about the concept of davar sheyesh loy matirin afilu be'elef loy batel. Sounds familiar?
So this will not be allowed.
So this, I don't think will be allowed. Davar sheyesh loy matirin, right? Something that...
This piece of meat and the Vashet on the
No.
We're talking about the guy that did. So it says the Vashet on the after.
No. Davar sheyesh loy matirin.
Why isn't double shishim material if the guy is megasin? It's an avashal that piece of meat.
I understand, but after Shabbos it's going to be mutter.
Why? Why would it be mutter? You just magis a piece of meat.
Because it's are you talking about if it's amazing?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about meat.
Okay, let's talk about a shogeg first. If it was a shogeg, then it's for sure davar sheyesh loy matirin. Yes? Yes?
Because he's not allowed to have after Shabbos.
Because we're not allowed to have it after Shabbos. So therefore, it's not bodily even in the 1,000. If it's amazing, for him, it's never going to be mutter. But for others, it's going to be mutter after Shabbos. So it's still davar sheyesh loy matirin. See what I'm saying? After Shabbos, there was a machlokes. Yeah, that's true. You had that after Shabbos. That's correct. I don't know if we should continue because I'm afraid that I'm not giving you the true answer. Because davar sheyesh loy matirin, the fact that davar sheyesh loy matirin is not bodily even in the 1,000 is only by min b'minoi.
This is
Not by min b'she'ena minoi. So, I mean, it's a piece of meat and a cholent. Maybe it's okay, the rest of the cholent.
Well, why? It's going to be allowed. Are you saying the whole rule?
The rule of davar sheyesh loy matirin, after the belt bottle, is only min b'minoi. Doesn't apply to min b'she'ena minoi.
Nothing to do with 60, what I said before.
No, I think maybe we have to go back to the 60 rule. If it's not batal b'shishim,
Tom,
if it's not batal b'shishim, then it has nothing to do with davar shishim matirin. Any machal also that's not batal b'shishim is a problem. Min mina mim shela minai. Right, it makes no difference. It has to be batal b'shishim. If it's the special chumrah of davar shishim matirin,
Why do I need to have the 60 in this case? To remind the rest.
because otherwise it's asar. What does that mean? It's a Michael asar. Yeah? So forbidden food, if it's the piece. The piece is asar, and if it's not batal b'shishim,
But the asur mechanat atzmo or become asur b'shishim?
doesn't mashana. The difference doesn't make. Doesn't make a difference. So what? Basar b'chalav didn't used to be asar. When you cooked it, it became asar. So what?
You have other pieces of the same kind in the structure.
So they should be asar, you're saying. They should be asar as ma'achal, as davar sheish l'matiyana for the bottle. Maybe. But it's getting too complicated for me. But maybe.
So basically, we can say that there's no 60 against this piece.
If there's no 60 against the piece, it's definitely asar. If there is 60 in Tav Shabbos, yes. If there is 60, ask a Rav. It's a pretty interesting shaila, that's for sure.
I don't see this example that you gave, it can be in real life, because if you take a children and you put piece of meat on top of everything that is just touching the cells, completely outside of the water, out of the juice, you open for the next day, this piece is completely cooked.
Maybe it wasn't the next day, maybe it was at night. In yeshiva, they have a minhag to eat cholent on Friday night. You heard of that? Thursday night and Friday night. Thursday night is like for bringing night, but Friday night, the Bachrim were hungry. They raid the cholent. I mean, that's standard. Standard practice. Anyway, so
What do they do for lunch? It's lunch.
they leave some over, they put it back. That's the whole issue. Okay. If you say. Okay, so we discussed stirring it on the fire. Now let's discuss stirring it off the fire.
Who's allowing this on the fire?
The Radvaz.
Is the other one?
Yeah. Radvaz.
Right.
Stirring it off the fire. So the Rambam says clearly that it's allowed to stir a kli rishon that is fully cooked off the fire. Not only that, but the Machaber brings down this Rambam and incorporates that into the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Shin Chaf Aleph, and the Ramah does not argue. I want to just bring it up on my page.
Also allowing off the fire.
Where? Yeah.
אם בשל כל צפור אין נמצאים בכך, שנמצא בכספי חמשום בתפסות, אם בשל כל צפור מותר.
Yeah, but is it only on Lahotzi B'Kaf, or is it even on actual Hagasa?
I don't know.
So here's what it is. In Siman Shin Chaf Aleph Sif Yutes, the Machaber says, Sif Yutes, Shin Chaf Aleph Yutes, Lefikach mutter ligmar shchikas harifais beitz par b'kdei b'Shabbos midin oisa me'al ha'esh. He's talking about the Isser of Disha, the Isser of Shchika, of grinding. He says when something is already crushed and you just want to crush it further, there is no Isser, just like in Bishal. Bishal, there's like no grinding after grinding, no tchina after tchina. Therefore, he says, you're allowed to continue stirring the rifus, which is some kind of grain dish, with an eitzapor, with an actual crushing mortar or whatever it's called, in the pot, bikteir, in the pot, on Shabbos, after you took it off the fire. Clear machaber. And the interesting thing is that the Ramah does not argue on that. He goes on to something else, whatever. He doesn't argue on that point. So the Ram... It's a tafshil. It's not yavesh completely. It's like a porridge, some kind of porridge that was made out of grains. So, on the other hand, the Mahari vial, like we said before, says that it's usher to do. And the Ramah here brings down the Mahari vial. Let's just read that Ramah again. Just in Shin Yuches, exactly. The Ramah says you should be strict lechatchila even in a pot, regardless. Now, no. He refers, exactly, even to the food, not just by tzemer, even by food. You should be strict by a pot. Even off the fire, correct.
So when he told him that you have to put it into a shame and then deal with this?
No. Let's talk about the simple reading of the Ramah. Simple reading of the Ramah is you can't stir it off the fire. You can remove from it off the fire. You can't stir it off the fire, which is exactly the opinion of the Mahari Vav. So you'll say, well, why didn't he argue in Siman Shin Chaf Aleph? The Igros Moshe explains very simple. Because this is a lechatchila yesh li zahar. It's not Eker Adin. The Ramah holds Meker Adin, it's mutter. Because it's in bishul acha bishul. It's off the fire. There's no reason to be strict. But it's a chumrah. He quotes a chumrah. It's a nice chumrah. But it's only a chumrah. As far as lahoitzi bekaf, that's what your question was.
Yeah, but I think according to the notion of the Mechaber, instead of tzilekaf, you replace it with mites. Because it said, אין מוציא לכף שנמצא mites. Okay, אבל אני מתפשר מותר. So it means that for him, when it said מוציא לכף, it's replaced with mites. But after it's mites,
So what are you saying?
so according to the Mechaber, you'll have to be mixing it on the fire. And it will start to top.
I mean, you happen to be right, but it's not clear in the Mechaber. You happen to be right.
Because the issues that they're saying, is long as Mushal say it's going to be considered as minus. But if Mushal say mutar.
You happen to be right because the Mechaber says it clearly in Shin Chaf Aleph. But for argument's sake, he doesn't say it clearly here. He says that you could be motzi bekaf off the fire. He doesn't clearly say that you could be megas. But Lamaise,
אין מוציא בכף, אם לא נדרש. That's a you allowed to be מוציא בכף, if it moves up or down. So just may say mutar. אם לא בשל כל צרכו, אין מוציאים בכף, שהם הנמצא מים.
V'ika mishum mevashel, mevashel kol tzorka mutter. What does it mean mutter? Does it mean megas or does it mean loitzi bekaf?
But for him, the mוציא בכף, it's refers to the mites. Because that's like
it's not clear. It's not clear. You could argue either way. Lemaisa doesn't make a difference. It's a moot point, as they say in English. A moot point means it doesn't make a difference. You could argue about it, but it doesn't make a difference. Because Lemaisa, the Mechaber says clearly in Shechafal that it's allowed. So what he means here, Shechafal, the one I quoted, the Rambam says you could finish mixing the porridge when you take it, Shinchafalaf Yotes. You can finish mixing the porridge when you take it off the fire in the pot, he says. So therefore, it's clear that he's matir. Okay, now what did the Ramah mean when he said, "L'chatchila yesh lizar af b'gdeira b'chol inyan." L'chatchila, you should be careful with a pot regardless. What do you mean by regardless? Does he mean megis, whether it's mevushal kotzarka or not, on the fire or off the fire? Or does it mean even lahoitzi b'kaf, mevushal kotzarka or not, on the fire or off the fire? Does the Ramah mean a new chumrah? Take the fire off the pot off the fire, fully cooked. You can't ladle it out. You have to pour it out all into another pot, another bowl before you serve it. I mean, b'chol inyan, like, regardless, no matter what. Basically, the question is, when he says b'chol inyan, is he referring back to asr lahagis boy, which is what the Ramah, the Mechaber just said before, where it says that you cannot stir something that you're dying, and on that he says, so you should be machmer with the keder b'chol inyan, meaning to say, even off the fire, you should be machmer with a regular pot and not stir it. Or is he referring back to the beginning of the sif where he spoke about loitzi b'kaf and saying, be machmer b'chol inyan, even loitzi b'kaf, even off the fire. So, sorry? Machlekes. Lama? No. Alter Rebbe is not matir. Alter Rebbe says you could be machmir. He leaves it open. Haroitza lahachmir. Haroitza lahachmir, it says.
The best way, you want to give children to your kids, you take it out in the fire, follow the rule of Chazara, you put it there.
Exactly. Definitely the best way. The best way is to take it off, to serve it, and put it back with all the conditions of Chazar. Okay, here's the thing, my friends. There are two ways of learning Pshat in the Ramah. והרויצה להחמיר, נו, תמשיך. תמשיך, עד הסוף. Exactly. So he basically quotes the Ramah as a chumrah. You're right, Meikar Adini passes like the Mechaber. He quotes the Ramah only as a chumrah, because really the Ramah himself only holds of it as a chumrah. That's what Ramosha says. Okay, so
I guess I don't consider it Mikis,
no, we see that it's not. We see that it's not. I'll explain right now. Honestly, the simple way to learn Pshat in the Ramah, simply based on his source, if you look up his source in the Maharivail, is that he's talking about only actual Hagasa, not taking out with a spoon. How do I know that? Listen to the words of the Maharivail, my friends. Keshemasin in Kedera Mina Eish, Lahoitzi Hamaychal Mimena Bakaf. When you take the pot off the fire to remove the food from it, don't stir with a spoon. That means, of course, you're removing the food from it. You're not dumping it out into another pot, like this new chumrah that somebody might think. No. You're serving the food from it. Just don't stir it with a spoon. So that's the simple reading of the Maharivail, and that's how the Taz learns Pshat.
Does that imply that you need to remove it in order to spoon out?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question, which we actually did not address yet. Do you have to remove it in order to spoon it out? Or can you spoon it out when it's on the fire?
I thought that was isn't that what is Maharivail's chumrah?
No, his chumrah is when you remove it to serve it.
Don't stir it.
Why do you remove it to serve it? It doesn't say. Maybe it's just more comfortable because to serve it in the kira, it's to bend over. Taking it off to serve it, don't stir it. Do you have to take it off to serve it? Or can you serve when it's on the fire? He doesn't say, actually. That is another machlekes. A lot of machlokes in today. But let's just focus on this Marival and the Ramah and get back to that other machlokes in a moment. So the Mishnah Berurah understands that the Ramah is taking the Marival's Chumar one step further, and that he means Kol Ikar means B'cholinyan, I mean Yeshlach B'cholinyan, Yeshmach B'cholinyan, meaning to say not to do it at all, not even to serve from a Kli Rishon. But he doesn't paskin like that. Even though he's learning the Pshat of the Ramah like that, he doesn't pass like that. He says, Lamaisa, you can serve when it's off the fire. Yes. Yep.
Take the whole bag out.
Yep. Yeah.
This bag considered self-activation. Even if you put out with the bag and not in carry, you're allowed to mix it over there. This bag considered still as a clearation.
I don't think so. I think it's still a Kli Rishon.
Yeah, it's not a Kli Rishon?
I think it is a Kli Rishon.
It's still a Kli Rishon. It stays Kli Rishon.
Sorry?
The walls of the bag hold heat.
Why not?
Cool question. Because they received it, they're not the one.
It is a cool question, but I mean, the question with a kaf, you know what I mean, with a ladle is because the ladle came from outside. But here, the bag was in there the whole time. I think it's a Kli Rishon. I think so. Sorry?
No, I said the bag is not source of it. It's just received. Maybe it's.
No, but the Chazal said Kli Rishon. They didn't differentiate thick walls, thin walls, plastic, metal.
It's not about
We're not going to make that up on our own.
Make you give you the it. Source of it.
It keeps it. It doesn't give it. It keeps it. That's the point. It keeps it. As opposed to Klisheni where the walls cool it down. So here it's just keeping it. That's all.
I mean, you could say that if the walls are giving off the heat, the actual metal of the pot, and then the bag is like chilik me'atavshil, it's just there enough for it to be, get dirty and stuff like that. But it's actually only receiving, the only part that's getting heated up is the actual walls. The heat won't stay in the plastic. And then you could say the same thing. Let's say the plastic wasn't there, and you had let's say something surrounding, garbanzo beans surrounding your piece of meat in the cholent. So what the garbanzo beans turns into the wall, if you would take out the whole thing in one gush and put in something else, that's a wall. Maybe just like that, garbanzo bean wouldn't be the wall, so too the plastic wouldn't be the wall.
I mean, the fact is that when we talk about a ladle, right? We talk about a ladle maybe being a Kli Rishon because it's put into the Kli Rishon. You understand? So they consider that ladle as something that could be a Kli Rishon. The only question is because it came later, maybe it's not. You understand? But something was there all along. It's a chiddush to say that it becomes part of the tafshil. I don't know. It's a chiddush.
Like intestines, wrapped inside the food inside. Take that out, no more eat it. It's up for eat it. It's food itself.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, make then you could stir it in the Kli Rishon. The whole thing is the chumrah. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Okay. So, Lamaisa, you could be moitzi b'kaf, according to all opinions, Lamaisa, when it's a Kli Rishon off the fire, that is L'ushal Kol Tzarkoi. Let's take one step back and talk about Lahoitzi b'kaf when it's still on the fire and it's L'ushal Kol Tzarkoi. Lahoitzi b'kaf when it's on the fire and mevushal kol tzarkoi. Lahoitzi. We are discussing it right now.
And what if it's one of those cholents that have like an inch of oil on top? So in order to get, like, you're not trying to stir, but the only way to get to the beans is to go through that liquid.
No, if we're going to be mater, lahoitzi b'kaf, we're going to be mater. We're not going to differentiate between different levels of lahoitzi b'kaf. As long as you're not purposefully stirring it. If your purpose is to remove it, then we're going to be matter. Okay, so here's what I came up with. This is the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says that the Beis Yosef says that you are allowed to remove from a pot that's on the fire as long as it's fully cooked. And the reason is simple. The whole thing of not stirring it on the fire is a chumrah. It looks like cooking. It could lead to cooking, and so on and so forth. But over here, you're not actually stirring it. You're just being moitzi b'kaf. It doesn't look like cooking. It's not going to lead to cooking. So therefore, it should be mutter. However,
Even if you're moitzi from the bottom?
Yeah. Sof kol sof, that's not your intention. And even actually stirring is not a real isser. It's not a real isser. It's not a clear isser. It's a chiddush. So we're only going to apply it if you're actually purposefully stirring, not if you're stirring on the way. So the El Yerabba, on the other hand, sorry? The Alter Rebbe is mashma that yesh makom lahachmir. Yesh makom lahachmir. Yes, when it comes to Al-Aish, I'll read it. We'll read it in 1 second. In this one, Lamed, yeah. We'll read it right now. But the point is, El Yerabba says no, because the kolboy, going back to the kolboy, very important kolboy, because according to the kolboy, it's an Issur D'Oraisa, maybe. Again, it's hard to understand the kolboy, but according to the kolboy, actually stirring it on the fire could be an Issur D'Oraisa for whatever reason. So, Lahitzi B'kaf should also be Aser. After all, you're still stirring it a little bit, somewhat. So maybe that should also be Aser. So, the Maisa, the Alter Rebbe is mashma that yesh makam machmer. There is room to be machmer. Let's read the Alter Rebbe right now. Somebody asked that. Somebody asked that before. It's a machlokes achronim. The opinions that I saw, the Ktseis HaShulchan says that it's aser, because if they said it's aser, it's aser. It doesn't make a difference how. But on the other hand, the Chut HaShoni, which is Rabbi Karelitz and Bnei Brak, that's the Chazon Ish's nephew, he says that it is that it's mutter. Sorry, that it's mutter, because the whole thing is a chumrah. So when you move it by removing it, when you move it around by taking out, then you should be machmer. But if you can just pluck something out, like a piece of kugel or a potato, without causing other things to fall, he says it's mutter. Okay, here we have Seif Lamed and Alter Rebbe. Listen carefully. If you removed a pot or a pan from the fire, still hot, you cannot remove from them, with the spoon, because that will be like stirring. And it has bishul. This is pretty much the words of the Mechaber. Like said before. But if it's fully cooked, you're allowed to stir it or after you remove it from the fire, right? Not on the fire like we said before for various reasons. But wool in a vat, even though it already absorbed the color. Also, but you're not allowed to stir it because of the problem of dyeing. Because that's the way of the tzaboin who constantly stir it so that it should not burn. And that's the explanation of the Ran for this. Listen carefully. Some people are machmir on a pot regardless. The main opinion is like The main halacha is like the first opinion, right? The Machaber, as well as the implications of the Ramah and Siman Shin Chafalach, because he doesn't argue in the Machaber. Listen carefully. A person who wants to be machmer yachmer b'hagos and mamish will only be careful about actual stirring. But to remove with a spoon, ein lachmer klal, you should not be machmer at all. Lo gabesh. He says in a minute. If it's fully cooked and not on the fire. Again, if it's fully cooked and off the fire. Mashma, on the fire, yesh makom lachmer. Again, he doesn't say you have to be machmer. Yesh makom lachmer. You understand what I'm saying? No. In makom lachmer. Loitzi bekaf. Loitzi bekaf vein ala eish. You understand? Ein lahachmer loitzi bekaf when it's off the fire. It's mashma that on the fire, yesh makom lachmer. You understand what I'm saying? Rav Moshe discusses this. Well, I'm sorry? No problem. Why? Because off the fire, maybe it's a problem. Maybe. If you have those ingredients, in makom lachmer. Person who's machmer in that case is like he's off the wall. But if you want to be machmer when it's on the fire, it's not so crazy.
So why on the fire do you just like this?
Why? Because even Hagasa. Why?
Why not to do it? It's a chmara because it's possible. I don't think that to do machmer. You're not allowed.
No. Because because it's only a chumrah. Because even hagasa mamish on the fire is not a clear. I mean, it's aser in din, but it's a chiddush that it's aser, and that chiddush only applies to actual hagasa, not to the hoitzi bekaf, where you're not purposefully stirring it. No, I'm not talking about hagasa. I'm talking about lahoitzi bekaf. Understand? Hagasa, let's talk simple. Hagasa on the fire, even though it's fully cooked, is mechzek mavasha. It looks like cooking. It's not cooking because it's fully cooked, but it looks like cooking. No, mechzek mavasha? No, it's not. Mechzek bekaf doesn't look like cooking. When you want to cook, you stir. When you're finished cooking and you want to serve, you serve. If you walk into the kitchen and you see somebody serving soup, you say, "It's mamish cooking on Shabbos. What's going on here?" Nobody says that. Even if it's on the fire, nobody says that. He's serving soup. What is he doing? He's serving soup. If you see somebody stirring something on the fire, I mean, why is somebody stirring it? Obviously, there's something that there's a reason he's stirring it. It's probably not fully cooked. That's what I'm saying. But if you see somebody serving it, it doesn't look like he's cooking. That's simple, and that's how the Beis Yosef holds. And yesh makom lachmir, but it's a chumrah. You see what I'm saying?
This one also the after, but can you understand the same thing from the Mechaber? That is allowing of fire? Or doesn't the Siman of
No, Shin Chafalav is clear rishon hagas off the fire. This is lahoitzi bekaf on the fire. It's not clear in the Machaber. He doesn't say it here. It's in the Beis Yosef. The Mashmos is in the Beis Yosef. If you want to look it up, I think it's in Reish Nun Gimel actually in the Mashmos. I wrote it in the note, in the handout. I mean, think it's the Mashmos in 253. Okay.
And the Rama basically matmir on both sides. On the fire, and off the fire. Or I mean that on both, I mean that on what's it called magis. When the Rama says if she say after the Koran.
It's not clear because he's only, if B'cholinyan means even La'itzi B'kaf, so even off the fire he holds you can't do it, how much more so on the fire. But if B'cholinyan just means whether it's on or off the fire, but he's only talking about Megis, and he's not talking about La'itzi B'kaf, so there's no proof from the Rama at all. He's just not addressing La'itzi B'kaf. Okay, Lamaisa, here's the good word. The Chazon Ish holds that if you have a pot that you want to eat some now, but you have no way of taking it off the fire and putting it back on. You don't have a way. A very simple example is that it's too heavy. You don't have somebody to help you. Yeah, or Shabbat brachas or whatever. I mean, the truth is that's an example that I'm giving and the Shevet HaLevi gives. But the Chazon Ish himself holds to another problem. Chazon Ish holds that a blech is not a good blech because he holds that when metal gets hot, it has a din of fire. So the blech is not going to help you because it becomes like the fire. So according to the Chazon Ish, even if you take it off and you hold it, you're not going to be able to put it back because it's like putting it back in the fire. So Lamaisa, the Chazon Ish says, if you're not going to be able to put it back in the fire, you could be mekel and be moitzi bekaf when it's on the fire. Sorry? Again, yeah, it has to be fully cooked, 100%. It has to be fully cooked, 100% fully cooked. You have to know for a fact that it's fully cooked. That's how the Shevet HaLevi also paskins. However, for your information, Rav Moshe is strict on this question. And again, Rav Moshe is very concerned with this kolboy, that there are little pieces somehow in there that you're actually cooking. And Moshe Feinstein, exactly. So according to that, he's concerned even with taking out with the spoon, that somehow those pieces will also get mixed up. So he's not makel even if you're going to be stuck and you won't be able to eat, or you'll have cold food later. That's it. He doesn't give you the option. So the mice, it's not clear from the Alter Rebbe one way or the other, because it's mashma that there is makam lahachmir, but how far does that chumrah go? Even in a case where you're not going to be able to have the food now, or you can have cold food later, it's not clear. It's not clear. All right, so I also wanted to cover the question of covering, putting a pot lid back on the fire, back on the pot when it's on the fire. But we are going to have to save that for tomorrow, as well as the final seif of this Siman Yud Tes for tomorrow, as well as what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to try to just cover any loose ends from this Siman that were not discussed to us in the past. And we are going to, Amir Hashem, spend next week reviewing Siman Shin Yud Ches and the test on the following week. Does that make sense? Wow. That's scary.
We're finish till after Shabbos.
1 second. Let me just look at this clearly. Next week is the 13th and 14th of Elul. Why do you say the following week is Rosh Hashanah? No, this week is the 13th and 14th of Elul. Sorry, Monday night, Tuesday night. If you review.
I'm not going to say that on Tuesday, but that doesn't make a difference. Oh, well, for the test, it does make a difference. See the advantages of women.
What to do?
I don't mind taking the test. I mean, what's wrong with the 18th and the 19th? Chag is Wednesday night.
I think it's Wednesday night, yeah. Okay, so maybe the 18th we'll do like a mock test, and then I'll give you a written test.
On the 19th. This week finishing, next week Chazara, the following week 18th and 19th is tests.
Is tests. That's the plan for now. We'll take it as we come, and then we'll see how it's going. But that's the plan for now.
So Lamaisa, Motzi Bakaf, what do we do?
Lamaisa, Ashkenazim are strict. Sephardim are lenient, as long as it's fully cooked. Ashkenazim are strict. If there's no way, no, off the fire we'll make them. Ashkenazim are make off the fire. On the fire, Ashkenazim are machmer. Can you do it if you have no choice, so to speak, like a very heavy pot? Yesh makam lahakal.
Or women can do it by themselves?
I'm sorry?
Or women that can't lift it, they can be makil?
I mean, women and men have the same halachas on Shabbos, but in general, if you can't, if it's too heavy, yesh makam lahakal. I'm not going to be the one to decide between Rav Vosner and Rav Moshe. It's beyond me. But yesh makam lahakal. I mean, it depends. How desperate is it? How important it is? I think so. It's not a very clear isser, it would seem. All right. Have a good evening, everybody. See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
My pleasure. Meyer, yes.